Rwanda. What is the word that comes to your mind when you hear the word Rwanda? In 1994, 1 million people were killed in 100 days. Imagine that. 1 million people killed over the course of 100 days. That is equivalent to 3 9/11s happening daily for 100 days in a row. Imagine that. Not from famine, war with another country, or natural disaster, but Rwandans killing Rwandans, neighbors killing neighbors, and husbands and wives killing their families if they were part of the Tutsi tribe. Where were you in 1994? What were you doing? I was in a grade 7 classroom in Canada, hearing about a war in a country I knew nothing about. The word that comes to most minds in the West when they hear the word Rwanda is genocide. That is not the Rwanda I know. That is not the Rwanda I know. 18 months ago, I moved to Rwanda with my wife and my 3 kids and my 15 bags. This is a view from my living room across the valley, and I see my friend Elsie's house. Elsie had nearly 80 of her family members killed during the genocide. Aunts, uncles, cousins, 80 people killed. Now she has chosen to forgive. Not to forget, but to forgive the genocidaires that murdered her family. This is amazing. This is shocking. It's also common in Rwanda. The 2 words that now come to my mind when I hear the word Rwanda are not genocide. They are reconciliation and community. In August 2015, I traveled to Rwanda for the first time as an educator to see the work of the Wellspring Foundation for Education. They train teachers, they come along school leaders, and they empower parents in their role as parent. Out of the corner of our eyes, we could see ourselves moving there someday. This is the new Rwanda. A few weeks ago, I ran my slideshow past my colleagues in Rwanda, and they said, you can't just show pictures of the genocide. Show them the new Rwanda. It's a beautiful country. Now, 18 months ago, I moved there with my wife and my 3 kids. Since living there for the last 18 months, I've learned 3 valuable lessons from Rwandans. Not about Rwanda, 3 valuable lessons from the Rwandan people they've taught me. The first lesson I've learned is a practice called Ummahganda. Ummahganda means people coming together in common purpose to achieve a specific outcome. On Ummahganda, on the last Saturday of every month in Rwanda, Rwanda stops moving. Every single business, every single store is closed from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. No one is allowed to drive. No one is allowed to leave their community. They need to be working with people side by side. 80% of Rwandans aged 18 to 65 participate in Rwanda. Imagine that. 80% of the country stops what they're doing and works in the community. That is amazing. Approximately 5 million people working side by side, people that likely participated in genocidal acts and were present, working with their neighbors, working with their community. Even the president, Paul Kagame, the man using the trowel, he participates in every Ummahganda. Not like Western government officials that pretend to be digging, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? For the goofy photo op, and then they leave. Not this president. He meets the people where they are at, engaging in community, filling potholes in roads, planting trees on the final Saturday of every month from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., the whole country. A couple of months ago, I participated in Ummahganda. This is in my village in Rwanda. I saw a road not passable because it's rainy season and washed out the road. So members of the community built a bridge to cross it. I saw ditches being dug for better drainage so the roads wouldn't be washed out. I also saw a general assembly, a community meeting, coming together. The Ummahganda, say that 3 times fast. The Ummahganda, the village leader, leading a discussion on effective family planning practices in their community, anti-malaria tips, safety and security in their country and in their community. It is estimated that $60 million worth of projects, initiatives, has gone towards Rwanda's development over the last 5 years. That is equivalent to $1 million in projects, new ideas, value added to the country. How? People coming together, the whole country, once a month, to work side by side. Does this happen in Canada? No. It is inspiring. It has inspired me to a new way of thinking about community. The second lesson I've learned of living in Rwanda is not to be a planner, but to be a searcher. What do I mean by that? William Easterly, an author, said that planners believe outsiders know enough to impose solutions, but a searcher believes only insiders understand the situation to find solutions. Now, I'm living in Kigali, working at a school called the Wellspring Academy, a school of 650 students, a big school, but I've struggled for years to build an engaged parent community. When I was living in Canada, I did my master's thesis topic on improving parent-teacher communication using technology. When I got there, I saw everybody had a phone. So I thought, why not just take the same system I used in Canada, and I'm going to use that same program in Rwanda? Simple, right? Why not? It worked great here. Why can't I just do the same thing there? Not so simple. Little did I know, I had become a planner from Canada. Rwandan phone numbers are 12 digits long, and Canadian and North American phone numbers are 10 digits long. So I had been a planner and not a searcher of solutions. So I searched high and low all through Rwanda, and I found a local homegrown Rwandan solution called Nairuka, which means be quick. They have a platform called TextIt, which enables mass, two-way, automatic text messaging to happen. So I take my phone, and I can send hundreds of text messages all at the same time to all different people, and my phone acts like a robot, relaying messages back and forth to hundreds of people all at the same time, to all the parents in the community. And for the last 9 months, it has been successfully working. We had a parent celebration 6 months ago, and I used the program to determine how many people are going to come to this event, because we wanted to make sure we had enough food for everybody. Using the system, I determined that 350 parents would come to the meeting, to the celebration, whereas before, numbers were few, dozen, very small numbers. And to my delight, on the night of, 353 people came to this dinner. Why? I had become a searcher of solutions in order to meet people where they're at. Not a solution from Canada. Also, at the start of this school year, approximately 230 students were late per day. In a school of 650 people, 230 kids late, which is 35% of the student body. So using the system that I developed, meeting parents at the gate, educating them, informing them, having meetings, building parent participation, now that number from 230 students late per day has reduced to just 6 to 8 kids. A drop from 35% of the student body down to 1%. This is not about me. This is about being a searcher for solutions. How is this applicable to us as educators, leaders, parents? We cannot just plan and hope that something works, but we need to look for real solutions. The third lesson I've learned is to focus on what is strong and not what is wrong. It's not just a nice little phrase. What do I mean by that? After '94, Western governments, international organizations came to Rwanda and just did, and tried to fix the problem. But as an unintended consequence, it created some people, some Rwandans, that saw themselves as not valuable or skilled. It was the foreigner doing things for them, teaching them that they are not valuable, they are not worthy. So it is better to focus on what is strong and not what is wrong. It's very easy to look at all the problems in some Rwandan schools. Some schools have no electricity. Teachers' income is meager. Overcrowded classes of 60 kids, 80 kids, and I've heard stories of 125 students in one classroom with one teacher with no extra help. So it's very easy to look at all the problems. And student dropouts as young as grade 2. Students leaving school as young as grade 2. We could focus on everything that's wrong with the schools, but our philosophy is to focus on what is strong, what is working. I have learned a lot from an approach called asset-based community development. Asset-based community development, or ABCD, empowers people to help themselves. Instead of focusing on what is wrong, what is not working, the limited resources, looking at their own strengths, themselves, and their own potentials to change their community. These are a group of parents that we work with. Many of these parents did not even finish school themselves. So we empower them in their role as a parent, because many dropped out, possibly before and after the genocide. Just for a show of hands, who here believes this statement? If you give a man a fish, you teach him for a day. If you teach a man a fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Hands up if you agree with that statement. If you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man a fish, you feed him for a lifetime. I actually disagree with that statement now. I completely disagree with that statement now. What if the water source dries up? What if there's a chemical spill upriver? You can't fish anymore, right? We work with parents to teach them critical thinking skills, problem solving, if something like that happens, working with their head. Secondly, their heart. Sympathy and compassion for the dropout students. It's not all across the country, but students dropping out as young as grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, out of school, developing compassion for these students. Aristotle once said, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. And lastly, their hands. Head, heart, and hands. What can they do? What are their strengths? What can they do to serve their community? Recently, 3 of my colleagues and I traveled to a rural school in Rwanda, and we met with a bunch of parents. We call these parents connectors. Connectors are the ones that connect with other people. The talkers, the ones that can engage in conversation really well, but the ones that know the people in the community and can connect them to certain aspects to help the school. I saw parents that were deeply committed, creative, innovative, find solutions for their school. It's as if they had on a pair of glasses before. That was not the right prescription. But by flipping it on their head, by focusing on what is strong and not what is wrong, they see themselves as valuable and skilled. I can do this. We can do this. They see themselves differently now, their children, and their community. Their whole perspective has changed just by flipping it. What can you do? What are your strengths? So the parents proudly gave me a tour around their school property. What can they do? They are very good at farming, masonry. The top left photo, they showed me 3 tons of potatoes growing on the school property that gets harvested twice a year. Coffee growing on the school property. 3 cows to help with a feeding program. Cornfields, maize, beans, vegetables, all set up by the parents to help their school, using what is strong and not focusing on what is wrong. Now, there's a school-wide feeding program for every single student in the school. They take the revenue from the coffee, from the milk, and it pays for medical coverage, annual medical coverage for every single student by focusing on what their strengths are. It's not us doing things for them. This school has a parent-run barbershop at Shango Primary to help with student hygiene. Another school even has something like a grocery store at reduced prices to help with the teachers to pay for their food. And the real winner in all of this is the child. Student dropouts is very common. Empowered parents reach out to other parents in the community to bring the children back. One school had 108 students drop out. 108 students left but by focusing on the parents' strengths, empowering them, head, heart, and hands have bring these children back, and nearly all of them have returned to school. So what does this mean to all of us? Every child has worth, and every child has value. Every child has potential. I told you the story about Ummahganda, people coming together once a month across the country from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on one Saturday, working side by side, people that participate in the genocide, rubbing shoulders. The second lesson I've learned is not to be a planner, but to be a searcher. We need to do that in our classrooms. Am I telling you not to plan? I'm telling you not to plan in your classrooms. I'm telling you to search for what works for kids. And thirdly, ABCD, empowering people to help themselves by focusing on what is strong within them and not what is wrong. Recently, I asked my colleagues and my friends, and even my motorcycle mechanic in Rwanda, what is the first word that comes to your mind when you hear the word Rwanda? I asked 36 people over the last few weeks. Not one of them said genocide. The words that came to their mind were security, resiliency, hope, and transformation. Rwanda is a country not defined by genocide. It is so much more than that. Thank you.